Hey fight fans, Caged Minds doing our recap for UFC on Fox 2. There were 10 fights, we'll tell you how our predictions did, feed you the recaps, tell you about who won bonuses. First fight was Chris Camozzi versus Justin Jacoby. We had predicted a second round submission with either key lock or Kimura for Chris Camozzi. This fight went down with Camozzi and Jacoby exchanging strikes for basically the first two rounds. Camozzi winning the first, Jacoby the second. In the third round, he was able to use that submission advantage we thought he had, take it to the ground, and in the chance of a stand-up, Camozzi was able to grab a front choke and submit Justin Jacoby, getting that third round submission victory. Second fight, Joey Beltran versus LaFar Johnson. We predicted a third round TKO for Joey Beltran. Beltran comes into this fight with the physique looking better than any of the other fights that we had ever seen him in, weighing a swell 229 pounds. LaFar Johnson had a 20-pound weight advantage, used the striking advantage and a reach, and actually was able to use uppercuts and end this fight in the first round, winning himself an impressive debut and earning that Knockout of the Night award. LaFar Johnson, big time impact on his first night. Joey Beltran, hopefully his next fight will be at light heavyweight. He looks a little small now to be a heavyweight. Next fight we're talking about, Michael Johnson versus Shane Roller. We predicted with the jiu-jitsu advantage of Roller, he would get a second round submission. That did not come to fruition. Michael Johnson showed a much better stand-up, better movement, fluidity in striking, and took a unanimous decision. This fight was not, though, without its controversy. I'd say, as a person, the respect level I had for Michael Johnson dropped a little as Michael Johnson in the third round jumped in with a flying knee, continued with 3 to 4 more strikes afterwards as the refs tried to jump in the middle to alert Johnson that he had hit Roller with a low blow. Johnson apologized for it, accepted responsibility for it, but it also makes me, if you really knew you threw that low blow, why'd you throw the 3 to 4 more punches afterwards that Shane Roller was not defending? And I hope that the judges didn't count those punches, because we don't know if it would have been different without the low blow, if Roller would have been able to defend himself against the strikes. So a little lack of respect I have now for Michael Johnson for throwing the low blow and continuing to be so aggressive through it. I understand you gotta fight through the motion, but I'm pretty sure kicking a cup is unlike kicking a man in the stomach. So that's a little bit different. Didn't really like how that went down. Good win, though, on the professional mixed martial arts side of it and improving in his skills for Michael Johnson. Next fight, Charles Oliveira versus Eric Wisely. We had thought that Oliveira, with the speed in his striking and just his frantic pace he keeps with his stand-up, that he would win with a unanimous decision. That didn't happen. The fight went to the ground. Wisely got his leg trapped in between him and Oliveira. When Oliveira went to take his back, Oliveira cranked on the back, pulling back Wisely. His knee turned in a nasty direction, in kind of an inverted knee bar. Submission of the Night award, an impressive featherweight debut for Charles Oliveira. Hopefully not too much damage for Eric Wisely's knee. That looked painful. Next fight we're talking about, Cub Swanson versus George Roop. We thought that Roop would win the first round KO because Swanson kind of bounces around a lot but holds his hands a little too low for my liking. So I thought Roop was going to win with a first round knockout. That did not happen. Cub Swanson in the second round threw a left, a duck under, a big overhand right that put Roop to the floor, finished him off with a few more punches. Second round TKO victory from Cub Swanson. George Roop, I didn't notice this. It seems he tells his chin a little high for being 6'1". He needs to tuck that, leave it out of harm's range. Great win for Cub Swanson. Next fight was to be Johnny Bedford versus Mitch Gannon. This fight was canceled. Mitch Gannon was unable to attain a visa or some kind of passport or something to get into the United States from Canada, so that fight was off. Next prelim we're talking about, a heavyweight matchup between Mike Russo and John Olaf Einemo. I thought that the wrestling background, the striking power of Russo, he'd win with a unanimous decision. He was able to get on top, use his wrestling, use some ground and pound, mostly control. Wasn't the prettiest fight, but he does get the unanimous decision. John Olaf Einemo, his superior grappling Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu game really has not came to fruition. We have not seen it yet in the UFC. He doesn't really hold guys in and keep them grappling with him. He allows guys to hold him down, allows guys to hit him. We'll see, and also a low tank. He had no cardio. John Olaf Emino has a few things to work on, hopefully, before the next time we see him in the octagon. 4-fight win streak, though, for Mike Russo. Got to fight at home in Chicago. Great night for him. Congratulations on the victory. Now we're up to the main card. Damian Maia versus late replacement Chris Weidman. We thought Weidman would win with a unanimous decision. I thought his striking was a little better. His punches, he threw them straighter, more accurate, had the reach, has the wrestling. Wrestlers have been able to control Damian Maia before. The fight was ugly. If you didn't know better, you would have thought both men came in on 10 days' notice. Damian Maia's gas tank was nothing. His cardio looked awful. His striking game seems to peaked with his left hand. Not too much diversity in it. He needs to still work on it more. I was disappointed in his striking game. It was a split decision. Chris Weidman takes it. He is able to outlast Damian Maia, and Weidman can do nothing but go up. Great performance, I thought, on the short notice and everything against such a tough opponent. Chris Weidman got the win, the split decision, hard fought. Co-main event, Chael Sonnen, Michael Bisping. We predicted the wrestling and unanimous decision for Sonnen. That's how the judges saw it. Co-main event winner, unanimous decision, Chael Sonnen. Michael Bisping, I felt, really did win that. We'll touch on that topic in a minute. Now we go to the co-main event. Sugar Rashad Evans and Mr. Wonderful Phil Davis. I thought that Sugar Rashad would end this fight in the third round with TKO due to strikes. That didn't happen, but he did show a superiority in the striking, in the grappling, controlled everywhere. The judges gave it 50-45, all 5 rounds for Rashad Evans. Phil Davis, a good wrestler, but mixing up the strikes to get to the wrestling just didn't all come together on this night for him. Rashad Evans looked much more fluent, using the strikes to transition to his takedowns, changing levels, showed he's the much more complete fighter. And now we know John Jones, Rashad Evans in Atlanta, UFC 145, April 21st. Can't wait to see the rivalry finished. That'll be an exciting night. That was 7-3 on our picks for Caged Minds. 7 correct, 3 wrong. I said I was going to touch on the co-main event one more time, so we'll do that again. Chael Sonnen, Michael Bisping. Really felt the judges got it wrong on here. Even though I did have the right prediction with the right winner, my eyes, when they went to commercial, I thought we were going to come back and see a 29-28 unanimous decision or possibly even split decision from Michael Bisping because the fight was that close. But Bisping did nullify takedowns. As soon as he got taken down, he did jump right back up off the ground. He did land the more significant strikes, even pushing and changing the clinch game several times to getting Sonnen up against the fence. Bisping did everything he could to win this fight, and I thought he did win the fight. When I looked at some stats from later in the night and I looked at the striking disparities, people had a lot more strikes being landed for Chael Sonnen. I had to take time, re-look through the video before I did this video, and watch that fight again on my DVR. Chael Sonnen landed 100 to 200, it seemed like, rabbit punches. The amount of impact and strength behind that seemed nothing. He threw a bunch of open palm slaps too. The judges, I think, in my opinion, did a horrible job of actually counting what significant strikes were and if they were doing any damage. He threw a lot of lazy rabbit punches. He keeps swinging his arm. He moves his arm fast and keeps swinging it. So as a strategic move, Chael Sonnen has the right idea. He keeps acting like he's working. He looks like he's hitting the man no matter what position it is. I get frustrated a lot of times watching people in the clinch who just hug each other, hold each other against the fence, and you're not seeing any punches. You're thinking both guys' faces are wide open. Why not land some punches, throw some body punches? Chael Sonnen did that, but they really still just don't seem to have any effect. He did manage to get one cut under Michael Bisping's eyes, but there was several questionable headbutts in this fight. So I don't know if the damage to Bisping's eye came from headbutts from the head fighting they were doing, or if it was actually from a strike. The strikes just seem inadequate, and I would have given Bisping the victory just on the fact that more of his strikes were more devastating, more hurtful, more with intent to finish the fight. Yes, Chael Sonnen did get the mount. I felt the third round was dominated by Sonnen with that mount position. But again, in the striking, I'd say it was completely close. If you just want to take that mount into consideration, yes, Sonnen won that round. But for the most part, Bisping was able to control clinch, turn around the clinch, nullify everything Sonnen done, and land more devastating punches. I'm going to say this till I was blue in the face, but I think Bisping actually got robbed in this one. Also, from the good points that Michael Bisping did with his grappling, I did see several exchanges of where he did try to reach for the fence, reach for Sonnen's shorts, and it's my opinion, I think, that the ref made him pay. Big John avoided some stand-ups to leave Michael Bisping on the ground because of those infractions he was doing, from grabbing the shorts to grabbing the cage. Because I remember as I was watching UFC 142 and Dan Miragliotta was standing up Anthony Rumble Johnson, I had to go back to look at it, and it looked about every 10 seconds that Rumble did not throw a strike, there was a stand-up. So I'd like to see that same kind of thing for every other fight, just consistency in judging. And please, I mean this, let's have consistency in judging, because I think we could have seen several stand-ups from the Bisping-Sonnen fight that did not happen. There was also, I thought, a questionable pull-apart where they were clinching against the cage, and Michael Bisping had Chael Sonnen's back against the cage, where Big John McCarthy separate the man, and within 10 seconds again, they're back in the same position because Sonnen is shooting on Bisping for a takedown. So I fail to see why the ref pulls them apart just for them to get right back in the same position. I would have pulled them apart immediately again. So that's just one more thing that I'm disappointed in. It looked like Bisping was landing shots when they were being spread apart. They were both throwing a lot of arm punches. It was weak, but they were at least both being active. So again, I'm questioning the judges, the refs. I saw a lot of inconsistencies in this fight that disappointed me. Another thing I wanted to touch base on goes back to the Shane Roller-Michael Johnson fight. In the third round, Shane Roller had Michael Johnson flattened out. Now, since UFC 142 earlier this month and the Eric Silva Carlo Prater incident, I've been looking at punches to the back of the head a lot more. It's my opinion that for fighter safety, if a fighter, say like Michael Johnson, is flattened out on the ground, head on the ground, hands on his ears, trying to cover the spots of where it's legal to be punched, that probably for his own safety, the ref should stop the fight, citing fighter safety, and the only thing the man in top control can do is devastating shots to the back of the head. Then probably the person on the bottom should be saved for their own benefit, and the fight should be stopped. Same thing with a single leg, or same thing like a Chael Sonnen versus Michael Bisping, where Sonnen's head was so close to Bisping's that when Bisping was throwing overhand rights, he was hitting Sonnen in the back of the head. There shouldn't be hits in the back of the head. It's dangerous. But if it's the only part where an MMA fighter can actually achieve a strike, I'd say to save the guy that's being taken the strikes, you finish the fight because he was taking strikes to the back of the head without getting out of the way, without moving the back of his head out of the way. Taking that as a safe point, I just don't believe in a safe point in a fight that if you turned your head towards the back, the other guy's not allowed to hit it, and that's that guy's problem. I'd say it's the guy that's being hit in the head's problem. Save yourself from the brain damage. Save yourself from the punishment. The ref should save you and stop the fight, award the other guy the victory, because he put you in a position where the only thing left to do was take enough abuse to where you could that you could be brain damaged. I'd say that man's won the fight. You could say it's illegal, but he's definitely won the fight. Agree with me or not, leave a comment, like the video or not, hit us up on Facebook, Twitter. This has been Caged Minds with our predictions. We went 7-3 on this UFC on Fox 2 event. Uncage the warrior within yourself, and have a good night.